Welcome back, Phoenix here, and there's a lot of info to unpack from the latest Dimension ShellShock DLC video that was released last week. I'm not going to go too crazy with the cameos, the palette swaps, or the stages. I feel like most of these speak for themselves at this point. This is also why I scrapped my breakdown of the PlayStation Underground video, since it pretty much showed off enough and explained enough that would have made my video pretty much redundant. Maybe I'll do a video later highlighting all the cameos or going over all the unlocked and purchasable palette swaps and their sources like I was going to do and like I've been doing in my previous videos once the DLC was released, but we'll see. I'm actually quite surprised to see her in this game, as she wasn't an original character from the 87 run of the TV show, not even into the comics until 1992, and then of course an animated form in 2003 show. I'm assuming it's because she was, a comic character, and the team was able to greenlight her into the game because of that. Taking a look at the Tribute Discord, we've got that info coming right from Yannick, who seems to be a big reason why she's able to be added into this game. So thank him for that, because I'm definitely grateful. He goes on to say that she's possibly the most popular character, second to April, of course. This 100% showed all over social media, as well as commenters on my videos, a lot of people asking for her. She comes from the comics, of course, again, as I mentioned before. Tournament Fighter's pedigree, I guess that means that she was easy to adapt into this game. I'm not really sure. I never asked for clarification on it. This will be her first beat-em-up appearance, which is pretty huge. There's lots of nods to the 03 series, which again was her debut in the animated form. And they got to create their own 87 version of her to fit into the game. So I was wrong about Usagi, and I was wrong about Karai, but again, I'm really glad that I was, because both of these characters look like a ton of fun to play. Leave a comment down below who your go-to will be in the DLC. Usagi, Karai, and why. Now, let's get into the trailer with our 9th character and newest addition to Shredder's Revenge, Karai. This opening shot is quite short. Now, I'm actually probably going to be saying that a lot. A lot of these clips are very, very short. But judging from what I see in terms of movement and attack pattern, it looks like she could be starting off with a dash attack, even though she's not teleporting. I'll get to that in a little bit. Then she does her charging heavy hit, which is unique amongst all the characters in terms of its range. She swings around what's known as a Kusari Fundo or Manriki Gusari. I think I'm pronouncing that right, I'm not sure. It's a chain with a heavy weight on the end. However, if you look closely, she actually doesn't have a weight. Well, technically she does, but it's actually a spearhead, kind of like Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, if you will. And its range is almost 3 full character lengths, when they're standing up, of course. Next segment here, we get a good look at Karai's 4-hit combo, but she's got an interesting mechanic here. If you watch closely, and this is why I always have these breakdowns in slow motion, so you can see exactly what I'm seeing here. The 4-hit combo actually will hit twice on that 4th hit. Once as the kick rises, and another as she swings her foot downward. The animation also has her spinning around when she's coming down, and the electrical effects follow suit. I'm not sure if this will hit anyone behind her, as its range seems to be a little bit short. But checking out later in the trailer, it's kind of hard to make that determination, so I may have to do some testing myself. Towards the end, we get to see her ground special as she conjures shadow clones of herself, much like Shredder, with doing various kicks, palm punches, a double lariat or a spinning clothesline, if you will, and even a swipe from her katana. Next up, I'm going to assume this is Karai's actual dash animation, as I mentioned before I was going to say, because she actually vanishes, which is pretty cool. She's the only one that does that. Ninja, vanish, of course, fits here. After she comes out of the dash, we get a good look at her dash super with her pounding the ground, and electrical bolts in a line rise up into the air. This, to me, seems like the most effective of all the dashing supers, just my personal opinion. And I actually don't use dash supers all that much because I feel like they're not that effective, but for Karai, I actually plan on using them much, much more. Moving on, we've got Karai doing an Izuna drop on the foot soldier here, and I love the additional lightning effects that are given off as she goes up and she comes down, especially with that big strike when she hits. She doesn't drop the foot soldier on its head, but hey, close enough. Continuing on, we also have a good look at Karai's aerial dive super, where she actually leans forward and she throws a flurry of punches downward towards her enemies. It's kind of like something you would see out of Dragon Ball, pretty much. I actually really love it. Moving on, there isn't much to see here at first. It's very hard to see, but upon close examination, we can see Karai doing her 4-hit combo, But the end of that after that fourth hit, instead of that fifth hit when she's, bringing her foot down, which I actually pointed out earlier, she actually cancels the hit, and instead she does her rising attack with her spinning it in the air, with her arms out at the sides, kind of like a rising double lariat. She follows up with a dive kick for her, flying towards the ground with both feet extended out. She does this again, but cancels on the third hit this time, and you can actually get a better look at her rising attack and all of its electrical effects that go off as she's spinning up in the air. Next up, there isn't much in terms of anything new that comes to Karai other than getting a look at her end stage pose. A few things to note real quick. We've got what looks like a ruined New York City, a busted turtle van with sand coming out of the windshield. It actually makes like a crying looking face here. And of course, there's 6 cameos in the background. There's also a red crystal that drops to the ground. You can actually see a little red circle on the ground to show you where it's going to land. It actually seems like there's going to be some additional hazards here in the survival mode. It's going to make things a little bit more challenging. I'm actually really welcome to see that kind of stuff. And just after we get to see her taunt, which looks like an evil meditation with all of her electrical effects flowing around her and through her eyes, the glow in her eyes, it looks very, very badass. The next shot looks as if the only thing you see is her dive attack, which turns into a bowling ball team attack with Leonardo. But I want to point something out here. She's floating to the left, but when she does her dive kick, she turns to the right. I don't remember if any of the other characters are able to do this, aside from what we're being told that Usagi's going to be able to change his direction with his double jump. I've never tested it before, so I wonder if this is something that they all can do and that I happen to miss it, or it's going to be specific for Karai and Usagi. The next 3 shots I'm going to just let play out, as there isn't anything new to showcase other than the stage itself, a few new colors, and a few more cameos. It's an animated comic book in all its black and white glory. We're treated to 2 stages here, and we also get a good look at the comic colors, or lack thereof color, here in the second part. One thing I'm slightly disappointed in, but I totally understand why it was done this way, is that the turtles do not all have red bandanas like their Mirage counterparts. Obviously, it would be really hard to figure out who's who in most instances within this game, so the collar ones were used, obviously. Next, with small quick shots here, we can see one of the power-ups for survival mode, where attack power and damage received is doubled, and it's going to last 3 rounds. Still not sure how any of that works yet, but we'll figure it out once it's released. We get a shot of everyone doing their pizza power attacks, and also a high five from Leo to Karai, with crystals as the choice for the end of that particular survival segment. The last set of shots don't show anything else of significance, so I'm actually just going to completely skip over them. And we come to the end of the trailer, which shows us the beautiful release date of August 31st. Much, much earlier than I had originally anticipated, which is great news. So before publishing the video, I decided to take a look at the extended gameplay footage that Dotemu released. They're calling it Gameplay Overview, and noticed a few additional tidbits of interesting information. The first 2 things are minor. We get a better look at Karai's sliding attack, where she seems to do a 2-leg hit move similar to something that Eddie Gordo does in Tekken. We also get a clearer look here of Karai doing her dash vanish, an attack which looks like something I've seen out of Wolverine do at the various fighting games he happens to be in. She even makes an X with the electricity in front of her, interestingly enough. Next, let's look at her heavy attack. I mentioned earlier that it had a spearhead instead of just a weight on it. Take a look right here. When she connects with the 1-foot soldier, she actually pulls the foot soldier towards her, kind of like Scorpion does from Mortal Kombat. It's definitely something that people could have easily missed. Next, take notice in this next segment of her grab animation, as she's grabbing the foot soldier in the face and does a one-handed toss. It's the same for both the side-to-side toss as well as the at-the-screen toss. But just a short while later, she does the same thing, but instead does the Azuna drop. The confirmation I got was how to do the move. It was up and attack. So this actually seems that Karai is not going to have a triple slam, and she's going to be the only one with a unique up and grab attack animation. I actually wonder if Usagi has a unique one as well. I'm actually have to go back and check and see if he does. The last thing to point out is the electricity surrounding Karai. At certain points it changes to an orange color. Usually happens when she gets hit, although other parts of the video it seems to change all on its own, like this little segment right here. Even at some points the effects are just not even there. It doesn't seem to be tied to movement in any way, or whether she's stationary or moving, how many bars of ninja power you have stocked away. Someone on Discord pointed out that they thought it was linked to their combo meter, but even then it seems unlikely. At one point she has 5 or less, and she still has no effect around her, unless there happens to be a minimum count or something like that. Wonder if maybe there's even some kind of hidden mechanic that we don't know about, or even just possibly an animation error. I'll update the pinned comment if I get an answer before the DLC is released. So that will wrap things up for the trailer itself, but there's one more thing that some may not know about, and it is the cost of the DLC, which was not revealed in the trailer, and I believe it wasn't even shown on social media at the time of the release of the trailer. However, I did get the answer from the Tribute Discord, and it's also on the Nintendo eShop for the game itself, and it's priced at $7.99 USD. I'm sure there will be regional equivalents. I'm actually surprised it's not showing on the Xbox Store, the PlayStation Store, or even the Steam page at all for some reason, unless I just happen to miss it. That'll do it for this breakdown of Karai for the up-and-coming Dimension ShellShock DLC for Shredder's Revenge. I'm really looking forward to this DLC, but I unfortunately won't be able to play it until a little bit into the first week of September, but it's no problem at all. Like, comment, and subscribe for more Shredder's Revenge and other indie game related content.